get started in SolidWorks and to create this 8x8 box. So the first step is remember to get Google Drive going on your computer. So a way that you can check it is follow the steps that's in the beginning of modules if you haven't done so already. But if you click on the little arrow down here, you can see that you should have a Google Drive icon that's got all the nice colors that you can see there. That's one way to check. The other way to check is to go to your File Explorer, and then you might have it in the quick access. It might say Google Drive, G Drive, or you might have to go to this PC. And if you go to this PC, then there's a Google Drive option there. And that tells you that you're all set up and ready to save files and open them from your Google Drive. All right, so the first thing we need to do is open up SolidWorks. I know the icons are kind of goofy, but we're not sure on the school desktops which one's the best one to do. So I always know for sure that if we go to Windows and we scroll down to where it has SolidWorks, under S, you can also type it. We want the 2020, and then we just want the one that says SolidWorks 2020. And then after you click on that and open it, it's going to take a few minutes for it to run. It does take a little while. And so I have pinned that to my bar here so that will stay there and be available easier for me in the future. So after it gets open, it does take a few minutes. Sometimes we get little pop-ups asking us for surveys or upgrades or whatever. Just you can ignore or say no thanks or not now to anything that pops up. One of the things we can tell that it's continuing to load is that it says loading registry, or things will pop up here and they'll kind of change through, and that helps us know that it's continuing to load. It is a big program, so I'm getting some errors here, so I'm just going to say okay and exit out on all these things so that it should be able to continue. It says starting SolidWorks now, so that's good. Clicked away, kind of sometimes pop-ups can stop it from continuing to load, so I just clicked away from things that happened to me. You may have similar things, we'll see. Alright, so now when you first open, you're going to get this welcome window. Yours is going to be all blank, right? I've done a bunch of things in here, so mine's got a bunch of stuff in it, and yours is not. That's okay. We're getting started. We're figuring it out. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a part. There are 3 different things that you can create. So there's parts, assemblies, and drawing. And we're going to work through each of these things as we go throughout the year. But right now we're actually going to do a part and assembly. But first we're going to start with a part. So when we first start here, we end up in this blank 3D in space. And we can't really see much, it's blank, there's nothing in it. But we get this XYZ little icon that kind of tells us that we're actually in a, it says trimetric view, which is pretty similar to an isometric view. And over on the left here, this pane is going to be something that's really helpful for us. So notice when I go over the front plane, so that's basically, looking at different planes that exist in this environment. So there's front, and there's top, and there's right. So our first thing is we're going to do the sides of our box. So our sides of our box are going to be an 8x8 piece of plywood that's an 1/8 inch thick. So we have our measurements, so we know what to start with. So I think I'm going to create mine from the front plane. So if I click on the front plane, I can go to one of these icons, and the first one says create a sketch. So the way we build things in SolidWorks is that we're going to start by drawing a sketch, a 2-dimensional sketch, and then we take that sketch and we stretch it out and make it 3D. Okay. Up here in the top, I have all my tools, and so the line tools are going to be really important. There's rectangle tools and circles and all kinds of, you'll be able to play with a bunch of these different tools, and some of these tools are cross will end up coming into play as we learn more and more about the program. But for now, we're just going to draw a rectangle. And so I'm going to click to be able to start my rectangle once, and then I click again. And then I noticed that when I drew it, it actually said millimeters. And so I forgot that I don't want my thing in millimeters. I'm doing this in inches. So I'm just going to hit OK to draw my part. So if you watched the video before you started, then down in the bottom right is where we're going to change our units. So mmgs means millimeters, grams, and seconds. Okay, so if we click on that, the four main ones show up here. So meters, kilograms, and seconds, or centimeters, grams, and seconds, or inch, pounds, and seconds. So we are going to do inch, pounds, and seconds. Really, these bottom two are the ones that you'll use the most in this class. So we're going to change it to inches. So now it says IPS in the corner, so now we know that we're dealing with things in inches. And so I just drew something, and so it doesn't really matter what it looks like. But notice I kind of zoomed in and out, and I get some weird things, like, uh-oh, I lost it. Like sometimes that happens. So some things that can help is that I just hit Control-1 on my keyboard. Okay, and that zooms into the current view, or takes the current things that we have and makes it show on the page. So the first thing that I want to do is on the Sketch tab. Oh, I need to go back into the Sketch. So I need to double click on Sketch 1. And so now, nope, I didn't like it. I need to open Sketch 1. So I'm going to right click on it and say Edit Sketch. Okay, now I'm back in Sketch mode. We know we have a contained shape because it's gray in the middle. And then these little green lines are helpful. They tell us that these are horizontal lines and this is a vertical line. So we know that it's a nice rectangle. We're going to use the Smart Dimension tool to tell it that we want the sizes that we want. And we click on the Smart Dimension tool, and then we go and we either click on a line and then drag off of it and click again. And so right now this is 4.5 inches. And so it's going to ask us, well, how big do you want this? So I'm going to type in 8 because I want it to be 8 inches. And I'm going to hit the green check. And now it's going to change the size of my box so that it's now 8 inches tall. Okay, and I'm still in the Smart Dimension tool, so I'm going to do the same on the bottom, except for this time just to show you a different way that you can, now I lost my thing again. Control-1 to get it so it fits better. I'm going to click on this bar and then this one. So sometimes what you can do is you can take two objects, 2 points, 2 lines, 2 curves, whatever, and if you want to measure in between them, you click both of them with the Smart Dimension tool, and it'll allow you to pick the dimensions between those 2 lines. So again, I clicked where I wanted it to say. Notice I moved it off a little bit away from the box, and I'm going to type 8 because I want it to be 8 inches. Click the green check, or enter, and now I've got a nice 8-inch by 8-inch square that I've created. So I'm going to hit the green check over here. Or I can hit the escape button on the keyboard, and that's going to get me out of the Smart Dimensioning tool. And then I'm actually done with my sketch. I now have it completed. So I'm going to hit Exit Sketch up in the top left here. And now I've got a box that I've created that's 8 inches by 8 inches. So my next step is to give it some thickness so that I have a 3-dimensional object instead of just a 2-dimensional object. So to do that, I need to go up to the Features tab. I'm going to click on the Features tab. And I'm going to use this thing called Extruded Boss Base. Basically, when you extrude something, you're giving it thickness. Okay, so I'm going to click on the Extrude tool. And I'm going to, I don't have anything selected. So if I click on my box here, it's going to move it into an isometric view, and it's going to start to give it some thickness. Right now, if we look on the left, now it opened up the Boss Extrude menu. And so we're going to do a blind extrude. We're going to leave it there, and we're going to change the distance so that's 1/8 of an inch. So if we, 1/8 of an inch in decimal is 0.125. So we're going to put 0.125, and we could put inches in there if we want, but you don't have to. We click away, it automatically does inches because that's what our part is made. We hit green check, and now we have ourselves a box that if we zoomed in right there, so wherever your mouse is kind of what it zooms in on. So you can see that it's got a thickness, and so we've got an 1/8 inch piece of 8 inches by 8 inches. That is what we're going to use for the outside of our box. So we are now done with this part, so we're going to save it. So I'm going to go File and Save As. And I'm going to call it an 8 by 8 side. And then I'm going to move to my Google Drive. Mine's right here. And then go to My Drive. And then if you don't have one already, you should create yourself a SolidWorks folder. So I have one already, so I'm going to open that up. And then I'm going to create a new folder for this project. So TITB project. And then enter to be able to create that folder. Double click on it, and then I'm going to save my part inside of that. So now I have my part ready to go. I've now completed that part of this project. So the next thing is we need to create our blocks that go in the corners. So to do that, I need to create a new part. So there's a couple different ways that we can do that. We can say File, New, and create something new. Or we can click on the house button here, and it'll bring us back to that home menu that we started out with. So I'm going to, since we've done the house thing, I'm going to try the File New here, and then see what that does. So see, now that brings up, here's 3 different options: a part, assembly, a drawing, just like it said in the other thing. And so we're going to do a part and say, okay. So now we've got a new part created. The other one's still open in there and available. But we're now going to create a new part. This time we want a 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch square that's going to be 8 inches long. So you could pause it and try to figure out how to do that on your own if you want to do that. But the key thing is here, I'm going to, I think I'm going to go for the top plane this time and create a top plane. And I'm doing that because I want to try to create my parts in an orientation that's going to be easier for them to insert when we combine them. So make a rectangle, and before I do that, I'm going to exit my sketch. I might just get rid of it. I forgot to do my units again. So I'm going to change it to inches first. Then go back to the top plane and create my sketch. There we go. And then I'm going to draw my rectangle. This time I'm going to start it on this little origin point. That kind of helps lock it into place. And if you notice, I get these little values here. I can try to get close to 3/4 of an inch. Sometimes even when I get this is interesting. Check this out. I can get one of them right. So I'm going to click on that, hit OK for the rectangle tool. I'm going to go Control 1. Oh, that's right. Control 1 does a front view. So let's see. Control 7 does an isometric. If we don't want to do controls, we can also click on the button here, and I want a top view, so I can click on the top here, and then that's going to give me, so this little icon up here helps me get to the views I want without using the control keys. Okay, so I'm going to use my dimension tool, and I'm going to click here and give my dimensions just like I did the last time. So I want it to be 0.75. Then I need to do my dimension down here. See, now look, I thought one said it was 0.75, but now when I'm doing it, it didn't do that. And notice it said 0.77, but look at all these decimal numbers that are in here. So whenever you try to like make it exact or what you think is exact, it's usually got a bunch of values that we can't see. So it's better to, no matter what, I would recommend that you go and type in the numbers that you want. So 0.75 again, and hit enter or click on the green check. And now I've got 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch. And I hit OK on the dimension tool, or escape will get us out. And then this is all we need for our sketch. Now I'm going to hit exit. And then I'm going to do Control-7. That gives me the isometric view. And then I'm going to extrude this to make it, give it thickness. But this time I want it to be 8 inches. So I'm going to type over here, I'm going to type 8 inches, or just 8 actually. And then that's going to make it much taller, you can see. So I'm going to apply that. And now if I go Control-7 again, it's going to make it fit into my isometric. So now I've got an isometric view of my piece of blocking. And I'm just going to use 4 pieces of blocking to put my box together. So this is the step. Well, okay, let's save it. Save as. We're going to call it corner blocking. And this already in the same folder that I saved last time, so I can see it's in SolidWorks and TITB project. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. And now that's all I need to do to be able to have my parts created. I think I'm going to finish this up. For now, this is the creation part. I'm going to do another video for the assembly. Have a good day.